Welcome back, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Today we are reviewing my 1983 Renault R5 Turbo 2, pronounced Renault, not Renault. The T is silent, Renault. But this is a 1983 Renault R5 Turbo. It comes with a 1.4 liter turbocharged engine. Factory, they were producing them about 160 horsepower. This one's been tuned and has a devil's exhaust. It's running about 225 horsepower. It sounds amazing. It drives great. I picked this up from the owner of Dirtfish up in Snoqualmie, Washington, when I ran the Dirtfish rally school. The owner had this, he put it up for sale, and I wanted to buy it. It's actually my second one. I owned a red one before this, probably 10 years ago, that had around 350 horsepower. The problem is I could never get the thing to run right. So I ended up selling it. They exported it to, I think, Spain. I think it went to Spain. I wish I had it back now, because back then they were only worth 20 or 30 grand. Now they're 100 grand. So this is really special to me. I saw them when I lived up in Seattle. We used to go over the border into Canada, and I saw a bunch of the Renaults. I saw the Mini Coopers as a kid, 8, 9, 10 years old, and that's what I fell in love with, these small cars. I always liked the small mini cars, the micro cars, small motorcycles, things of that nature. So this has obviously the boxed fenders on it, which in the 80s, this is the cars I like. You can tell, like the DP, the Audi, those are the cars that I fell in love with. The E30 M3, the Lancia Delta Integrale, all of those that have the box fender flares are things that I like. I like to collect those. So the Renault started as a Group B car, and they had to make X amount of cars to homologate it. That's the street version that I have right here. So it's sporting some mini light wheels. They're 15-inch Yokohama tires. They're offset. The rears are a little bit bigger than the front. It also has the rear engine, and I'll show you that in a minute, but it has a functioning scoop here in the front to cool down the radiator, which is a double fan radiator in the front. Lines run to the back of the engine, because obviously it's very hard to cool a rear engine car. It also has inlets here to cool down the engine as well. So this is sporting, I'll show you some of the interior, sporting Recaro seats. It is a 2-seater car, mid-engine. You access the engine from some Allen keys here, and 4-speed gearbox. It's a very high revving car. Anything under 4,000 RPMs, it's dead on the floor. So you have to keep the RPMs up to keep it moving quickly. So my favorite view of this car is the rear end. Take a look at how fat this rear end is. To me, that just looks crazy how fat it is. It's got the trumpet exhaust right here, but this to me just screams 80s, and going down the road, it just to me looks insane. So for somebody to do this back in the 80s was pretty phenomenal for me. But it's got some rear pop-out windows. These are cool. They also have a lot of these on some of the Mini Coopers as well. Turbo 2, they made a Turbo 1 up until 82, I think, and then they switched to a Turbo 2. They also came with a thing called a Maxi, which was aluminum top, even to save more weight. Those are extremely rare. This just happens to be a standard Renault R5 Turbo 2. So I show you a little bit about the interior. Pretty basic stuff. No radio, no AC. The car has 117,000 kilometers, so roughly 70,000 miles. It's been driven. I drive it a lot as well. I like to take it to the car shows and whatnot. Very basic, heat, windshield wipers, and headlights. That's about it. So, and a boost gauge. It's got a boost gauge on there as well. Okay, so I'll show you the engine. We've got a 8mm Allen key here. Pretty simple. This is a take this off. And a couple of these, 4 of them up top. And here's the engine, all tucked away in there. It's probably not very easy to get in and service anything on the bottom end, but spark plugs and stuff like that are pretty accessible. It's very well insulated, so you're not getting a lot of the engine heat. This is extremely heavy, well insulated, and most of the heat is dissipated and goes out the rear end. So, but pretty cool having a rear engine car like this in the cab of the car. So not a lot of noise inside, but it being well insulated, pretty neat. Once again, it's a 1.4 liter. It's pushing about 225 horsepower, 4-cylinder turbo. So let's go for a ride. Okay, here we go for a in-car video of the Renault R5 Turbo. The thing I like about this is the car is small, so I feel really good in it. It's not like, if I'm going cruising on the highway, I want a big S-Class or big 7 or 8 Series BMW, but if I'm just scooting around town, this is what I like to drive. The car is very simple. There's not a lot of stuff in it. In the 80s, it was, still had roll-up windows. A lot of the newer generation doesn't even know what roll-up windows are. They just push a button. But nevertheless, we're gonna go for a quick spin here once we get out of some traffic. So you can tell I've got to keep the RPMs up. Anything under 3,000 or 4,000, like I said, the car's kind of dead. The reason why is it's such a small displacement. It is a 1.4 liter, so the turbos aren't as adequate as they are nowadays. It takes a lot of turbo spool to build up. So they used to, back in the day, the turbo lag, it would take a while for the turbos to get going and spool. Now they're so modernized that it's in milliseconds, but we will put it back in a second. Still gets up and goes. 225 horsepower, pretty cool. It catches a lot of attention on the streets. A lot of people look at it. They've never seen, let alone a Renault, but a homologated factory-built Group B car on the streets. So people kind of look at it and are going, what is that? Steering wheel in a frontward position. It's not straight up. Very small. Look how small this stock is. This is for the windshield wipers. What is it, like 2 inches? Very, very small. You've got your fan here. Fresh air, heat, your vents, turbo gauge, oil pressure, rear defogger hazards, headlights, and washing fluid. That's about it. Very simple stuff. Not a lot to go wrong. Believe it or not, it does have electric windows though. So the car sounds amazing. I love it. It's got it's called the Devil's Exhaust on it. So these Group B cars ran with the Audis, the UR Quattros, the Lancia Delta, or the Stratos, Toyotas that they ran with, amongst a couple other cars. Okay, folks, hope you enjoyed the video of my 1983 Renault R5 Turbo. Please leave a comment, like, subscribe, and follow us on Tons of Gas, or at Tons of Gas on Instagram as well. Stay tuned, we're gonna have some more videos for you. Hope you enjoyed it. Like, share, comment, tell your friends, post wherever you can. We're trying to grow our page. Thanks, tune in again.
Stop that sound!